All right, well, it's Primal Sutra and its adepts. Welcome. Welcome to another live stream. Today I'm streaming all about Primal Recall. This goes directly into our new product that's launching, which is going to be all about your soul being reboot, having a soul remembrance, and it's called Escape Your Numbness. So if you're ever feeling really numb or dead inside right now, this is the program for you. If you feel like you are a lost soul, someone who's lacking purpose on your spiritual path, this is going to be a spiritual game changer, a booster pack for you. Okay. So let's start off by talking about your forgotten spiritual power, what we call spiritual amnesia, okay, and soul loss. What really happens, what goes down. I'm going to break it all down for you guys in today's video. Before that, let me just change some settings around. All right. All right. All right. Cool. You guys should be able to comment now. Okay. So let's talk about this. Okay. Spiritual amnesia and soul loss. Let's get the whiteboard out. New whiteboard. Get ready. Get tapped in. Wherever you're tuning in from. If you're in the morning, get some morning coffee. Get settled in. Let's break this down, man. This is a very, very powerful topic. And we're going to go into synchronicities as well. Okay. We're going to go into synchronicities as well. So the first thing we want to discuss is the spiritual amnesia. Okay, this forgetting. So Earth and the third dimension induce this kind of spiritual amnesia. And what is one of the main ways that we get spiritual amnesia is through trauma. Okay, trauma actually fragments or splits up the soul. It causes us to forget our divine origins. And this is why also in a lot of black magic, what they do is they try to use force instead of flow, right? So they want to block your natural order, your natural rhythm of things and introduce chaos, right? So this is really important for us to understand as spiritual practitioners if we are going to on be less tightly wound to the material realm, let's just say, right? Because this soul gets bound more tightly to materiality when we face more adhesion or stickiness to matter, right? Like glue. We're glued to matter. We're glued to the material. And this is a state of stuckness. You're stuck in earthly limitations rather than actually embracing who you are as a human. You have a birthright of liberation, moksha, enlightenment, right? And alchemy isn't just about saving the human, it's about liberating the divine soul that's trapped in matter. So it views each of us as deities in a dormant state. So spiritual alchemy through purification frees us from adhesion to matter. It's awakening our full consciousness layer by layer by layer. Okay. So it's really, really important to understand some of these concepts. So I'm going to break it down for you to get more of a full picture. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm using these headphones instead of this. And just switch over. All right. All right, sweet. So let's continue. If you guys have any questions, by the way, just type them in the chat. This is yeah, it's important for you to just recognize what is spiritual amnesia and how you can start remembering again, right? You've been forgetting a lot of this time. Now it's time to start remembering again. Okay. So, universal consciousness and samsara. So, from the perspective of universal consciousness, this is all coming from The Alchemist, okay, the other YouTube channel. So, she says that we are divine beings who've forgotten our essence, and we're caught in this karmic cycle of samsara. So it prevents us from actually navigating beyond this realm, right? It keeps us in this karmic wheel cycle because we've lost our soul essence. We fragmented or split ourselves into many, 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 many different parts. Okay. So that means if you are if you've been through a lot of pain, suffering, trauma, shock, your soul has been split, and now you have to create more harmony, more of a recall, a primal recall, right? A soul recall, where you call back your dormant power, you reclaim your divinity, and you evoke the power of your ancestors. Okay. So karma's role is often misunderstood as punishment. Okay. So this is what karma is described as, really, if you really break it down. It's a different perspective, but really think about it. Karma is a mechanism that pushes souls to evolve by attracting them to opposite experiences, right? So if you're struggling with laziness, you need to work harder, right? So this push aims to reclaim your lost consciousness. So it helps souls achieve higher awareness or consciousness. So that's how karma actually affects us. We reap what we sow. It's like one of the main things, right? The golden rule or whatever, right? It's one of the main things in every single school of thought, religion, and doctrine, right? So we have to understand that repeated lifetimes provide opportunities to break free from this spiritual amnesia and evolve out of the samsara cycle, the suffering cycle, into the advanced upward spiral momentum cycle. Now, as we understand, there are certain triggers and choice points. Okay. Almost like think of it like a video game. You gain certain milestones, you get to certain levels, and you start from that level. Right. So to awaken from spiritual amnesia, you've got to encounter your own choice points. Okay. This is where you have to make very big decisions for yourself. Okay. Because as you're a flow state Jedi, you are cause, you're being cause. You're not being an effect to the world anymore. You're not getting knocked around like a pool ball. You are taking your journey with full momentum, full power, right? Internal power, not seeking corrupt external power. Okay. So ignoring these lessons strengthens the spiritual amnesia. If you ignore all of these spiritual lessons you're getting, you're going to heighten your forgetting. So reclaiming awareness means healing from these triggers and liberating consciousness from the material plane. And, many souls set, pre-birth intentions to awaken or reclaim their essence and invite humanity's collective consciousness. But these intentions aim to steer humanity towards a higher organic timeline, right? Avoiding paths of artificial non-evolutionary states or like different types of decay or stagnation, right? So the earth in alchemy is known as salt, the salt of the earth. You might have heard this, right? So this crystallization into the earth causes forgetfulness, making earth an extreme test or a prison planet where we're even partially awakened beings lose much of their awareness on entry into this thing, right? So while some beings reincarnate just to liberate their own consciousness, there are others that aim to assist humanity and shifting to higher dimensions of awareness. So this journey involves really freeing yourself from the spiritual amnesia, guided both by living on destiny and living by design. Okay. So you're guided by both, you're co-creating with God or source, right? You're guided by both the individual choice points and the collective shifts. Okay. So you're noticing right now, Trump is now the president. Okay. So as I'm making this video today, it changes the timeline now, right? We've flipped and hopped timelines, and it's a different timeline now. And again, it's the 47th president, so it's the 11 energy, right? Which is a portal into something. It's an amplification of whatever is, right? And so we have to understand that and really get to, merging our path with this choice point right now. Or wherever it is that you're tuning in from, whichever time, you might be watching these videos many years back. Even now, as you observe the right now, what is going on here, right? What is going on here to help you, assist you, right? Alchemy's ultimate goal is coherence. And that's what we're trying to do with heart rate variability and the Heart Math Institute and all that stuff, right? So the alchemists actually try to create a state where all the layers of consciousness are fully aware and interconnected with each other, right? So imagine all the fragmented, traumatized parts of you coming back to wholeness, oneness, source again, right? So by transcending this kind of, this force of materialization, we awaken from our spiritual amnesia. We reclaim our divine essence. Okay. So my own personal journey, I want to speak a little bit about that too. My own personal spiritual path and my journey and how it's gotten to where it's gone. I actually had a kind of a strange birth trauma. They didn't know if I was going to be born. And it was clearly some kind of a weird divine interference that was happening during that time, as I heard my mother speak about this in the stories and so forth. And somehow, she engaged in some spiritual practices. She went to this astrologer, and the astrologer told her, in my family, astrologer told her that she was going to give birth this year or whatever, right? And so then it happened. It eventually ended up manifesting. So there is some kind of a link there in terms of my own birth. But then also, I remember a lot of my childhood memories, which I don't think a lot of people do. But I just remember walking through the space and like feeling like I'm getting used to this, right? And of course, that was the moment, like when I was very young, like maybe 8 years old, right? It seemed to be that my spiritual memories were stripped. I started to understand that there was some kind of an identity thing happening. It was pushing me to recognize this version of me, this ego construct, right? And this guy, whoever I was, to ultimately kickstart some kind of a relearning life from scratch kind of thing, right? Deeply questioning my purpose in existence. So I did that at like 8 years old. Then 10 years old, I was in like Switzerland, right? I remember I'd lost one of my close friends at the time. That had brought up some certain memories. That's the first time I encountered death, where I had accidentally killed a bird with a stone. And I had felt such sorrow, and I felt such regret for doing that. But then I had hosted this very spiritual ritual where I forgave the spirit of that bird, and later on it came up in my trauma healing too. So I have kind of pieced together to understand the different traumas that have happened in my life, and now I've given it meaning. I've given it purpose, right, guys? It's not just something that happened to me, it happened for me to recognize my truth, my divinity, my power. Okay, so this is where the post-traumatic growth comes in. Don't fold because you're going through something difficult right now. Understand that post high school, I couldn't even recognize patterns and manage basic tasks, right? I had been transported into an absolutely alien realm. I was playing video games a lot at the time. I felt very isolated, kind of alone. We had friends like with LAN parties and all this, but I seemed to make imaginary friends from even just preschool, middle school, I made these imaginary friends. I would play with these little action figures and toys. I had a very sharp imagination. I noticed it was a cause of that bioenergetics archetype, the schizoid. And I'll tell you how to heal this because I've healed it, right? If you're very heady and you feel like I'm so in my head, the real healing starts when you start to ground yourself, right? And so, have you ever felt really isolated, really alone? This is where I faced a lack of understanding from those around, right? I felt like I needed more guidance on education. I didn't even know what spirituality was at that young age. Just kind of dabbling here and there. It was only until after college, college, everyone goes through periods of moments of transformation, experimentation and so forth. So during that period, I felt like it was almost like a portal. Vermont for me was a portal that I had to walk through in order for me to create this spiritual path. And from there, I'd gone to London, completely different environment, right? Urbanized environment. One was completely in the middle of nowhere, right? So I saw these different splits or these fragments as I moved around to different parts of the world growing up, right? And so now I have to bring my Switzerland side, my UK side, my Indian side, my all of these sides, right? Thailand side, all together, right? I have to merge them all into one. Now, the archetype of the Makara came up for me. I'm going to speak about that too. If you guys want to, I can break it down. But for right now, I want you to understand, I started to sometimes zoom out of my body, right? And I interpreted these spiritual moments as echoes of this invisible realm, right? Even though I didn't really fully understand the truth of that, because my mind was letting the synchronicities guide me, I was just in my creative expression, poetry, recording music. I was following my true essence. And this is where I started to get flashes of like clairvoyance, claircognizance, and eventually a very strong clairaudience, which became my main psychic gift. So it's as if certain injuries or blocks or traumas, they all gave me spiritual insight. And this insight, internal sight, this journey of deep spirituality brought me back to purpose and courage to move forward, right? Creativity became my lifeline. It anchored me into the present moment, helping me rebuild myself, awakening my dormant neurons. You guys get that? Through spiritual study. And now the memory started to come back. The frequency of thought and focus on higher realms may have activated parts of my mind that were previously asleep. And now they were showing up as growth. So my journey ultimately led me to view consciousness as God, and my studies of omnism and the profound interconnectedness of all of life helped me understand how to strip away these lower states of emotion and being, anger, jealousy, judgment, all of these different things that I have observed in the adults around me growing up. I'd been very introverted as a child. Now my throat chakra is open. You can hear it clearly, right? So I am experiencing life now with a more heightened sense of unity. Whereas earlier, I was very, very scattered and fragmented. I used to do every creative thing. I didn't know what I was going to do. This is why I went to a liberal arts college in the middle of nowhere, right? And so it took me some time to really understand that flow state is where I shine. That is my niche, that is my lifestyle, that is my purpose, that is my magnum opus, that is my ultimate creation. It is my unique selling point. It is everything and nothing at the same time. And once I understood this, along with help from many, many mentors, many, many mentors, okay, I started to distill this journey of resilience into my book TPM, but then also Fake It Till You Make It. And then after I realized the theatrical tech of Fake It Till You Make It, then I went into studying more so about social dynamics with AZD and like Vince, Kelvin, and like all these top seduction artists, at the time from the game and so forth. And then I started to know myself. I started to know women around me. I started to get into relationships. I started to recognize where my mind was at. I tried to push myself with these boring internships to try to, you know, get some semblance of truth or hope or some kind of a purpose, but it wasn't fitting. It really wasn't fitting. And after a while, I uncovered the truth of my own consciousness after I've been through this program called the Spiral program by Dane Thomas. I've been through it twice, and it just pulled out all of the gunk from within me. This is what I help people do to this day, is I help people remove that emotional gunk that's stored within them that won't let them really move forward and feel free and fresh. Because you might have a very mental block, but not even realize that you have an energetic one or a spiritual one, right? So this is where really all of the hidden wisdom that I've been studying becomes important because it turns it back into healing again and helping others to heal and become their own medicine man, medicine woman in their communities to be able to use this technology of Primal Sutra, whether it's channeling, whether it's, creating your spiritual theme, whether it's working with dominant chakra, whatever you find that's valuable in this channel, the character yoga, the art of seduction stuff, whatever it is that you find is moving you towards your greatest self, that's what you need to double down on. Okay. So even though it's dancing around, freestyle, music and seeing fellow creatives and collaborating, I also started to seek depth and beauty in the everyday. Okay. So, first of all, I want to really help all you guys, man, especially younger versions of me. I want to really help you guys out. Listen, the number one thing you got to understand is the power of isolation. Okay. The schizoid archetype or the archetype from bioenergetics that you become very in your head as an escape, using your fantasy as an escape. You isolate as a self-protection mechanism because of some familial or ancestral trait. So instead of viewing isolation as escape, what if you could view your own isolation to foster inner depth and insight? And this is what I did, right? So I had an opportunity to collect with my lineage's wisdom and spiritual practices that have been overlooked in the family history, but also understand that I had also recognized that I have a deep, profound spirituality happening in the background, right? My father deeply into Theravada Buddhism, later on Vajrayana Buddhism, and following the Kadampa lineage from my mother's devotion to Kali and like these different ideas that she had around transforming her life, and apparently the energy shifted her life and changed her life to a very profound level, right? So already there was a bit of this influence from my parents, you could say. But then as I started to go to different parts of the world, I started to recognize that, wait a second, isolation is breeding my artistry, my creativity to actually emerge, right? And you have to use your vivid inner world not as an escape, but as a transcendence and a self-integration where you're finally accepting everything that is happening to you, like waves of an ocean do, right? And you have to understand by using visualization practices rooted in your lineage of tradition, you turn fantasy into focused shamanic practice and journey, right? So fantasies can become very visionary tools for bringing unresolved ancestral stories or gifts to light. Okay. So you're offering a path towards emotional grounding and healing. Okay. So fantasies can become your visionary tool. So now, as I traveled abroad, I noticed outside of India, I mean, growing up first, I was looking at the Indian stereotype, I was really breaking that down and I was understanding it. I was trying to understand it, at least to the best of my capacity, right? Um, then I started to pick up that The West loves to visualize. The East loves to meditate. If I use a combination approach of my consciousness as it's been traveling around the world, I now start to understand the planet better. As I start to understand the planet better, I start to understand myself better because these are projections, fractals, parts of me too, right? It's like you know that you're getting pissed off by someone's shadow fragment, but that's not the true them, right? It's all oneness. They're part of you, the person you're arguing with right now, okay? They're part of you in some way in the storyline. So you have to embrace that, accept it, and begin by offering your visualizations. Oh, yeah, using your visualizations as offering to God, right? A divine holy vision. I use the energy of Cyclopeia, the Ascended Master's energy, because it connects me deeply to Scorpio. And yeah, it's very powerful to be able to tap into that. Also, this is very advanced stuff, by the way. So if you're looking for something more, step by step, you go for the program that's coming up, okay? Just follow through video by video, 5 days, just 5 days, okay? Put yourself through the fire of transformation, okay? Now, as you begin exploring where disconnection may have been inherited, you have to channel the strength of isolation into becoming a sacred seer for the family. So either it's through breaking a repetitive cycle, self-healing, you know, getting rid of liberating the old stories, tied to alienation, shame, emotional fragmentation, and bring body and breath into healing. Okay? The reason you're so in your head, because you're out of body, you're disconnected. So to feel connected again, simple grounding exercises, right? Just look up grounding exercises. Breath work is a grounding exercise, stomping your feet or wiggling your toes is a grounding exercise. Okay, bending backwards and doing some of the bioenergetics trauma release exercises is grounding. Okay, you can look up, let's see. Mm, Let me give you some very specific ones too. So, okay. So let me tell you this, okay? So for this specific archetype, standing posture, stamping your feet, okay? This is going to be very powerful for you. Okay, stomping your feet or wiggling your toes. Wiggle your toes in the grass or soil or maybe somewhere where you can clench your feet down. This is also the Makara symbolism of his claws in the bottom of the ocean, the divine masculine. It's a big part of my journey to be initiated into this name, right, of Uncle Makara. So I wasn't always calling myself that, you know what I mean? But yeah, you want to be conscious of this because it directly applies to this trauma healing stuff, which is very potent, next level. Okay. Now, for the standing posture, just stand, shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, and just allow your weight to drop into your feet. Focus on breathing deeply and feel the ground beneath you. Stomping your feet, just stand and just lift each foot up, stomping it down firmly to the ground just to feel more connected, rooted. Deep belly breathing, sighing, and vocalization. Okay, these sound vibrations can release tension, like grunting as well, right? This can really help. Hugging yourself. People, don't understand how powerful this movement actually is. But this wrapping your arms around yourself and giving yourself a comforting hug builds body awareness. We're not doing this just because it's like, yeah, I'm a sensitive empath and I love hugging myself. No, it's because alleviating my feeling of separation and pressing my palms together and focusing the pressure and support from within. So hugging yourself. Let's recap. So sighing and vocalizations. Sighing and vocalizations, we have deep belly breath, breathing through the front of your body, okay? This is going to give you ultimate aura as well, okay? Deep belly breaths. If you really want to be certain, you can take in more fragmented inhales, like, right, to really push the energy up, okay? Now, you guys are getting this all for free, by the way. So if you want to donate, I'll send you over my PayPal and, you can help support the channel. What I really want you to understand here is you want to create more presence in the body. So you're reducing fragmentation by turning the tendency for inward withdrawal to more of an embodied exploration. So you're not just blocking it off and shutting down. You are actually feeling through it and letting go of what does not belong. And you're exploring how to be more embodied, be more present by tapping into your breathing. Okay. Okay. Let me just quickly go over to YouTube. Let me just check if there's any comments. Nope, none yet. Okay. I'll move along. So yeah, deep belly breathing is a very, very good one. And I highly recommend that you try it out at least once to just give yourself at least the motions of it to bring your attention back into the body from the head. And pressing the palms together, of course, the feeling the pressure and support from within, right? It's all kind of culminating at this point. We use Namaskar and Namaste, right? These ways. So placing just the thumbs over your third eye so you can get direct guidance from God, from Source and Shiva. Okay. So you use pushing movements or weight training or arm swinging. Arm swinging is a really good one, or chest expanding stretches, right? Or lying on a foam roller. This type of stuff is really great. Okay. Yeah. So you want to feel more openness. That's why. Okay. Arm and chest release for openness and endurance building. Try and improve your stamina. This is like cycling, swimming, running, jogging, okay? Improve stamina and courage staying present in the body for extended periods. It's going to be more difficult for you, but this is why you're doing it. You're overemphasizing it, actually, right now. You're going to overemphasize. You're going to cultivate your connection and presence with your actual physical body. As you start working with a trainer, as you start working with somebody who knows the body, they can give you the gift of also understanding and knowing your body. Okay. Whatever they feel, you feel. Whatever you feel, they feel. Right. And so we're creating communities through our vibe. Our vibe attracts tribe. You know this like it's a bumper sticker or some kind of reel that you post. But do you really understand what vibe that you are? Because that's who you're attracting. Right. So we have to get really clear about that. Okay. So these are just some ways, again, self-hugging, underrated. Underrated. Okay. It's not like I love myself, right? It's not that. It's actually a survival strategy. You have to understand these tools as pivotal and effective, not escapes or ways you numb or use spiritual bypassing to get your way and to make your ego even more validated so you get a spiritual ego. No, it's not that journey, bro. I've been there before. I've done that. Okay? It's not fun. And you want to make this fun for you. So set up a simple ritual or an altar that honors your ancestors, even if they aren't directly known, right? Just create a space where you can communicate with and release unresolved energies in the lineage. Work on bringing purpose to your isolation and transforming it into a process of ancestral healing rather than escape. Okay? And I wanted to speak a little bit about synchronicity now, if you guys are open with that, because I've been looking into Carl Jung and he's talks about synchronicity in a very mystical way, and I love it. It gives me braingasms, it tunes me into the nowness, right? Uh yeah, happy holidays for me because I'm working all the time. I got just kind of messages from Monty. Okay. Jung's concept of synchronicity explores the unseen connections of mind, matter, and the cosmos. So it's an acausal connecting principle, right? So events are connected meaningfully without direct cause. Synchronicity invites us to look beyond traditional or linear causality to viewing this reality as one, as interconnected. This is how you could hear me on a different side of the world, right? This is magic. This Zoom meeting and like me presenting right now is the magic to somebody, ages ago in the medieval ages. If you saw me doing the Zoom meeting, they'd be like, what is that? Right? They would see that as magic. So really start to understand that Jung saw synchronicity as connected to alchemy. And alchemy is about turning base metals to gold, but it's also symbolized through the journey of self-realization. So the unus mundus or whatever, right? The one world, that represented the mind and matter interweave, right? Where synchronicities brought glimpses of this hidden realm through creating this hidden unity or this reminder towards you, right? A lot of people see repeated numbers, angel numbers. There's someone who I recently visited me in person yesterday who's talking about seeing those numbers as well. So, Jung is fascinated by astrology, right? He viewed celestial alignments as reflective of the archetypes in the collective unconscious. So you've heard of the maxim, as above, so below, right? That is synchronicity's core. It's a mirroring between the personal events and cosmic events that are happening. Okay. Many people really double down on this and they look at astrology or the I Ching or they try to break it down through that realm. And I appreciate that. I really commend you for doing that. But also try to access the synchronistic currents of your own life. View its guidance as a symbolic dialogue, right? Between me and the universe. It's I and I. It's me and God. Just me in a spotlight and God, right? My higher self connected to the God chakra. And if I try like different divination practices all the time, I may just, it offers me insight into my unconscious mind, right? Aligning with the cosmic patterns. But it's also, I want you to understand quantum physics, this idea of non-locality, where particles remain interconnected across distances, right? So synchronicities could reflect a macroscopic vision of quantum entanglement, right? So that means human experience is woven in to this non-causal quantum level. There's a theory called the holographic universe theory. I don't know if you guys know of this or heard of this, but it resonates with the same idea. Synchronicities is just showing us our interconnectedness, right? It's showing the collective unconscious. It's showing and reflecting a greater reality where mind and matter aren't separate, but aspects of some kind of a unified whole. So in occult tradition, synchronicities are seen as messages from spirit guides or divine forces. By noticing these occurrences, individuals can receive guidance, receive flow from the universe, receive nudges from the higher realms. So with these moments of synchronicity, you want to serve into the window of the divine. So Jung saw these synchronicities as mystical revelations, potential catalysts for your own personal transformation, aligning you with an invisible universal wisdom that transcends everyday mundane ordinary understanding and living. Okay. Now, I really want to speak about my own personal archetype of the Makara and why I resonate so deeply about it. Okay, we'll end it here, guys, because I have to also get going. But if you have any questions, just once again, type it in the chat. If you guys um like this kind of content, let me know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Okay. Tap in. All right, so let's give an image of the Makara. Let's find a good one. Oh, I like this one, kind of like an elephant, a crocodile. Dang. Let's give an image. What's a better image? All right, this is a cool one. I like this one actually. This is Varuna on the back of the Makara. Okay. So my spiritual theme is flow. So I love the water. Uh, you know, Varuna is the god of the water. He's the Indian Poseidon, essentially. So this energy, this guardian energy, okay, how did I come down to this? First of all, I understood my kind of Hindu, Buddhist, kind of tantric tradition showing me this kind of half crocodile, half fish hybrid, right? Like half on, it's like half and half, right? Which reminds me of Janus as well, the god of doorways. So I saw the Makara as a doorway, a gatekeeper who represents the balance of primal forces. So they are the guardian of flow state. They nurture and challenge those seeking the profound depths of peak experience, right? And so, number one, the Makara is a threshold guardian, okay? So that means he stands at the liminal spaces between known and unknown, much like how flow state exists between, you know, discipline and surrender, right? Control and surrender. So as the guardian of flow, the Makara ensures that only those who are prepared can pass through the threshold of flow, right? You have to earn some merit to do so. It's kind of like he forces you to release ego attachments and just allow, like, let go of self-consciousness to truly immerse yourself into that essence of you, right? Feeling into that complete fullness, total human optimization, those moments where you're so wired in to the present moment, right? So this is why, he's also protector of inner water. So the inner water is the emotions. So he also is protective of my heart space and my solar plexus region, right? And his energy enters a stream or river of consciousness and where thought flows smoothly and effortlessly, right? And so he's the gatekeeper of this inner stream. It protects me against the turbulence of unprocessed emotions. So if I channel this energy, I am putting my fluidity into action rather than letting it become chaotic. I'm becoming one with the task at hand. With this hybrid nature, this duality, half crocodile, half fish, this embodiment, like flow is between challenge and skill, effort and ease. It teaches us that the path to flow is not found in ignoring difficulties, but by mastering the dance. This is very key, guys. Very key. Mastering the dance between tension and relaxation, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. All encompassing, it's the autonomic nervous system. So flow state is a powerful balancing act. It's a harmonizer, right? To those who respect both light and shadow. Those can truly enter, who understand polarity and duality. Those who respect both light and shadow can enter. The Makara is a symbol of power and transformation. It's seen as a vehicle for Ganga, Ma Ganga, who's a river goddess, Varuna, the god of water. So flow state is a vehicle for transformation, right? It allows us to move beyond the ordinary consciousness. So just as the Makara stands as the guardian, it challenges you to harness and transform the raw energy into emotional intensity, right? Into a focused, calm bottom of the ocean grounded energy. Even though the makara is connected to the flow of water, intuition, energy movement, it also channels the energies associated with stability at the same time. So though it's associated with my sacral chakra, um, it's also an energy center that's linked to creativity, fluidity, and personal power. So as the guardian of flow state, this makara enables you to direct emotional energies more purposefully rather than being overwhelmed by them, right? To create a state conducive to flow. So crocodiles are part, and I went to Thailand this time to actually hold a crocodile in my hands because I wanted to. That was like, I know I needed to do that, right? Crocodiles, a part of the Makara's form, are known for their survival instincts, right? And resilience. So flow state requires resilience, actually, right? Because to enter flow, you often move past resistance, fear, and obstacles. So the Makara's energy asks you, are you willing to confront your fears, dive into the deep, navigate your inner waters? Right? Only those willing to face themselves fully can pass through the gates to reach the bliss and the fearlessness of true flow. But much of the true flow comes from tapping into the subconscious where the knowledge and the skills blend effortlessly with your action. So then you become this guardian of watery, mysterious realms, where you're also a keeper of that unconscious depth. You guard and guide people into flow while safeguarding the mind against self-doubt, intrusive thinking, and you invite people to submerge themselves into the depth of their character development, spiritual journey, where instinct and intuition drive your performance. Okay. So there's many different facets to this archetype that I've stepped into as my main chakra path, main, you could say, guide that I work with. And it's become my YouTube pseudonym, right? And I say all relations because it connects to everybody, every path work. And you could be Chinese, you could be from Nicaragua, you could be from Venezuela. It doesn't matter, okay, where you're from. Everybody can tap into this, right? From different parts of the world. Maybe you're just a guy from Denmark, just exploring this page, but you see this, you hear this, and it demands your attention, right? It commands respect. It commands reality to bend. So finally, the Makara demands you to let go and to trust the water, trust the flow state, trust the Tao, trust the present moment. Because once you fully let go of control and trust the process, then you can access the timeless, effortless state of flow. So it reflects the rites of passage back into a peak state. It stands for an ultimate test of time and space, right? Which is held by the mind. So are you ready to abandon your ego, embrace resilience, and dive into the sacred flow? Only those that align with these qualities can enter the realm beyond, where creativity and performance merge to create transcendence. Okay. So back to this idea of spiritual amnesia, I didn't know coming into this world that I was connected to this Makara energy. I had to go on my own spiritual journey to unveil through my active imagination, through my dreams, through my different visualizations and, guided meditations and all of that stuff. I started to realize my connection with this energy. Okay. And as we went to Bali, more confirmations were made for our first event ever for Primal Sutra. Second event was in Costa Rica. This time we're headed to New Zealand at the end of this year. So if you're excited for that, definitely sign up. There's one spot, and so tap in. Okay, we usually take one person along with us. So tap in. There's still a spot open. Okay, you gotta embrace, appreciate, and apply. That's been our mantra from day one. That's been our mantra from day one, okay, to really give us the clarity of that. So I hope this really helped you guys and start to understand that we also had a very important episode yesterday about locking in, how to save your entire bloodline through locking in. That one's on IMC TV. And if you notice that you are doing everything you can to plant the seeds of liberation and to honor your roots, as I said yesterday, right? You are choosing the strength that makes your ancestors breathe easier. Okay. Remember, guys, today's a 7 day. Okay. That's a spiritual day for rest and rejuvenation. Okay. So today you just got to rest. You got to rest it out and you got to codify the things that God has done for you in your life so you don't forget. You got to codify the traumas, but you also got to codify the greatness. And you are great simply because, right? You remember your peak experiences. Of course you do. They're like the highlight reels of your mind. Those great expansive moments where you felt at one with those events, right? You merged with it. Technically, you merge your subconscious with it. It become a flashlight in your mind. Well, the same way, a flashlight can also be a trauma in the mind. That messes people up. Intrusive thoughts, right? So you got to lift your eyes up to the hills, head up, which also means confidence, because you're looking at your oversoul. You're looking at God, right? So from a Christian perspective, we forget or we get spiritual amnesia because of pride and stubbornness, right? So I went from a life coach to a spiritual flow state coach because I started to expand and transcend. I went from a passion, just me, into purpose. What can we do together? How can the tribe be evolved? How can I be selfish, not just for myself, but for my community? Okay. So we asked this question in the podcast yesterday, but I want to ask it here. What is beautiful about your lineage and culture? What is beautiful about your past? Okay. God intervenes when you forget. And remember, the Lord, I think in the Bible, it sent them judges, right? The Lord was with the judge, they said. So you're going to get judged. Okay. You're going to get judged by others, but it's just people reminding you that you've forgotten who you really are. As they judge you, it's not even about you. You have to remember this is my spiritual memory coming back. They're reminding me of something else. It's not really a trigger, it's a treasure in disguise, linking me to my enlightenment, my light within. Okay. So in the Christian context, they believe that forgetfulness leads to idolatry. They call it spiritual prostitution, right? We're giving off the divinity to all of these different idols and different deities. Now, how I see this is they're all aspects of the divine. I don't see that as fragmented, right? My love for Jesus doesn't override my love for the Buddha. It's not like I'm creating a hierarchy for this, right? I am remembering my heavenly Father, God, and I'm remembering my God spark, right? So you can do the same. Remember your God and your God or goddess spark, okay? And once you tap into this, there's no going back. Once you have a communion with the divine, there's no going back. You trust that inner wisdom, right? That insight, that internal voice of intuition that tells you something's not right. You got to change this, or some move, right? Or it's telling you something to block out distractions, keep your energy high and mind clear, deepen your sleep quality. It's telling you something, right? To write letters to your future self, may tell you to go to a mountain or a city rooftop, to practice presence. It might be that you meditate on heart coherence. It might be that you pick up grounding sense, that you go to the forest and you smell cedar wood, and then you get an essential oil later because it reminds you of an old memory that you once had in childhood. You might be using biofeedback or brainwave entrainment, right? You might be using cold therapy to calm the mind during very intense work, heat therapy or cold therapy, right? Ice packs, cooling gels, weighted vests or ankle weights sometimes, or like sand timers, or, using a portable whiteboard that you can just jot down your ideas and quickly erase and then, start adding again. Right? These are just ways to lock in that I'm telling you, but this is something that should come naturally to you. Right? Ancestral totems or symbolic jewelry, like a pendant or wristband, every time you see it, you're reminded of your commitment. You're reminded of your vision. You're reminded of your goal, right? So all of the things that you create an environment that lets you adjust and adapt by staying aligned physically while working on legacy defining tasks, right? So having We're going to create more virtual accountability for the adepts as well. And we're thinking about gamifying this thing to create a leaderboard too. And eventually there's a lot of different things coming together, as well as, a lot of merchandise. I remember I got the hat, um, the Primal Sutra cap, and that's been very powerful as just a staple. It's a really good one. But just, going into that space of really making this a lifestyle, a brand, right? A culture. And every lifestyle brand culture has its own style of clothing. So if you're interested in that and you want to shoot me a message, you want to work with me to design something, or move along with something, definitely tap in. Let's create some amazing art. Okay. Also, you can create an uninterrupted zone, right? Put do not disturb on your door, right? And just stay immersed into like a physical world, right? Play these things to remind you of your childhood. Like if you ever fell asleep at the back of a car or whatever, or you remember like falling asleep to an airplane, going above your room or whatever, like play those things before you sleep and see how that affects you, right? So sometimes these noises can be very calming and soothing for the mind. Okay. So I have this Muse thing right here, but I barely use it, but I'm also use it when I notice my brainwave activity has gotten out of relaxation, and then I try to notice how quickly it takes me to tap in again, back into an alpha theta bridge. Okay. So if it's very high beta brainwave, like very stressed, anxious, very in my head, I change my breathing patterns, I ground my body, I understand my posture again, I ease where there is tension. I may stretch myself like this a little bit. Now back, I'm focused. Okay. So this pain that you're feeling is this sensitivity towards, being a certain way or appearing a certain way that's creating all these constructs or heaviness or different moments or pockets of stuckness, right? Where you can't really access it because it feels too numb. You need the escape your numbness program. Okay. Escape your numbness, escape your apathy, escape that thing that is suppressing you down, right? You're being depressed, you're being pressed down by life. Whereas you need to do the opposite. You want to express yourself. You want to be confident, being comfortable in your own skin, right? Being who you are, accepting yourself for who you are, acknowledging even the flaws and shadows, right? Hey, Shadow, come over here, bro. You demonic mofo, come here. Did I ever tell you I loved you? Because you give me that dark feel, right? Like, have I ever told my shadow that I loved it? That I forgave it? Have I ever talked to my higher self like, hey, I love you, no matter what, you know? These practices, they generate an unconditional love, which melts away the spiritual amnesia. The God memory, the goddess memory comes back. You start realizing, wait a minute, was I connected to the Arcturians? It's just random. It's not supposed to happen like very logically, step by step. I'm going through this program where they teach me starseed activation and then I'll get it finally. No, as you begin this journey, there'll be a random moment, an insight, a download, do something, right? Some moment of divination, some moment of strategy, some moment of cultivation of internal goodness that comes up, some tingle in the back of your brain, some little whisper from the other side, the unknown, making the unknown known, making sense of the nonsense, making the subconscious conscious, creating a bridge between who you are, where you are. And that's how you tap in. Okay, that's how you tap in. Now, doesn't mean to just be like everybody else, like you are who you spend time with, right? And so you might be taking on the negative traits of the people that you're hanging around. You're becoming bitter like them, or you're becoming more hateful, or you're becoming more, constricted. You can't tap into your humor anymore or something, right? Like we have to be able to recognize this and powerfully replenish ourselves. Because once we actually start to care for ourselves, right, which is a core intention technology, right, it will then expand everything else. Because we start to recognize ourselves like, wow, you fragile little ego, you were so precious, you know, my soul will protect you, bro. Straight up. Okay. You got to have that, effortlessness, that playfulness in regard. Play makes hard workers into masters, baby. When you're working hard and now you're playing with it. Oh man, you're forget talent at that point. You're getting the gold medal. Okay. So irregardless, we treat our lives like we're spiritual athletes, like we're spiritual Olympians training for some kind of a shadow work, great thing, some collective thing on the planet that's about to happen. We can all feel it. We can all sense it. Some are prepping for it before than others. Some are just going to lock out and just go live off the grid or the matrix, right? But what is your path? What are you getting the signs for? Okay, why not just rent an Airbnb and try that out for a bit, Try living in a farm for a bit, seeing if that does it for you. It's powerful, man. Is it the one who does the most tantra wins? Is that the code, right? If we create a flotopia and a loving society where each of us have a connect with the divine and we're not separated from it, what a beautiful world, okay? What a wonderful world it would be, okay? As Louis Armstrong would sing. So I see trees of green, right? So that's it. It's a wonderful world when you know this, right? You know it, the knowledge, the gnosis, the nostalgia. Okay. Let's get it. Upward spiral gang. May we never be the same again. Thank you so much for tapping in, guys. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day, wherever it is you're tuning in from. Sending you much love. Let's get it today. Okay. Peace. Much love. Osa. May the flow be with you. That's right.